still work. What are you, fucking Martin? It's all work. And I'm like, I wasn't with you. It's a fucking blowjob.
Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
The Working Fans Podcast with Joe and Dave. And today we got a guy who's competed for WWE, WCW. He's been in Japan. He's a former Smoky Mountain heavyweight champion. And he's about the second or third most famous guy from Ashland, Kentucky. Bobby Blaze. Bobby, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. Good to hear from you guys. Yeah, I'm probably I don't know, because that damn Billy Ray Cyrus, but at one point I was probably the second most famous person from Ashland, Kentucky. The first being Charles Manson.
What an honor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in good company with that, right? When I first time I tried Smoky Mountain, that was the first thing I met Cornette several gave me a try. It was like, Bobby Blaze, the second most famous man out of Ashland, Kentucky. The first being Charles Manson. That always stuck with me. That's a good intro, you know.
It's definitely memorable.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's a long time ago. How you guys doing, man?
Oh, we're doing good. A little snow up here in Connecticut, but what do you want? It's Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah.
How are things out there?
Well, actually, it's cold as a whore's heart, and we're getting just a little bit of snow here and there, but mostly just rain at this point.
Oh, good.
A little cold, and but hell, it's pretty simple. What do you expect?
Right. Yeah, right. Bobby, you were trained by Rick Newsom. What can you tell us about Rick?
Okay, yeah, so I was trying to get into wrestling. You know, I've always been a fan, and at one point I decided that's what I want to do. I'd trying to break down doors, knocking on doors, sending out letters and pictures, and I was just lifting weights, running, and had a little bit of wrestling training, this and that. And I went to an independent show, and I met a guy named Rick Newsom, who ended up being just a couple hours from me, and I'm here in Kentucky. And he said, yeah, I'll help you. I had went to the Monster Factory up in New Jersey for a couple of days, just so I didn't try out or anything. I went up there to get a feel for it, because that was one of the people that contacted me. I had some other people contact me, but it was like too far from home kind of situation. And Rick, he just happened to live a couple hours from me and kind of took me under, like, I'll help you train you, son. And super great guy, very successful in the law enforcement world. I'll leave it at that. He had a very successful career. And in wrestling, he had been a bodybuilder, and he knew a lot about wrestling. And so he took me and we started training a little bit, just, you know, stand up and takes down. And then we got the ring eventually, you know. But it was, so with Rick, nothing but respect for Rick. But sometimes Rick and I just kind of beat the crap out of each other, if you will. I did have several matches with him. Of course, things changed as time went on as far as my training went. But it was a really good experience, and I really appreciate him breaking me in, because I had my first match against him back on September 11th, 1988, over in a small town called Hayside, Virginia. And pretty much, just like I said, kind of beat the crap out of each other, you know, kicking, brawling. But some wrestling. Definitely no high spots. But, yeah, you know, it's all good. And like you said, nothing but respect for Rick, and, you know, kind of got my foot in the door, if you will, for what I thought I knew about professional wrestling.
Bobby, you went on there. Actually, you're the third guy that we've interviewed, Barry Horowitz and Bob Cook being the others, who went on to train with Malenkos. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, man. And shout out to Bob Cook and Barry Horowitz. Bob Cook, at one time when I first met him, he was introduced to me as the best professional wrestler in Florida. I mean, he was good, man. Bob Cook was good. And I was like, what? And he used to, I saw him. I went to a Championship Wrestling Florida taping and show. And I don't know if it's a taping, but a show anyway. And so we went to dinner after with me and X-Pac 123 Kid, Sean Waltman. Sean's who I hung out with a lot. And we watched Bob work, and he looked at me and goes, "Oh, you're the shit." And Sean went, "No, he's not. He's actually pretty good." And I was like, "Well, I hope no one ever calls my work the shit." But I was like, "No, sir, I'm not." So, Bob's a good dude. And Barry, I met, a couple years later, and nothing but respect for those guys because we had a great, not just a wrestling coach, but he was a mentor to me, he was a teacher to me. And he was pretty much like a father figure to me in my life. Professor Boris Malenko was, and he was just a really good trainer for wrestling, for professional style wrestling, and also conditioning. And you took away from it what you put into it, and I took a lot out of it because I put a lot into it because I was seeking his approval, respect that if I'd done something, I was doing it good or doing it right, And it was a great experience. And after a while, I was at the camp for about 4 months, so Dean come in and had a lot to do with my training as well. And Joe, his older son, had something to do with it at several points when he would come to the camp. So as I found out, like I said, I was writing those letters and sending out publicity pictures, if you will, just some little addresses I had here and there. The Malenko school got a hold of me, but I returned my letter like, yeah, we have a camp, this and that. And I will say that there was a man up in Minnesota, Marvin Joel, was the one that kind of put me in touch with them. But on the wording was the Malenkos are the best craftsmen in the wrestling business, and I think that's what happened. They're such good craftsmen. I think I learned a craft from them. The art of professional wrestling, if you will. So yeah, I was honored. I'm in a special class to be. I was trained by Professor Boris Malenko in a Malenko wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that we've talked to has put them over big time. Bob has said that he learned from the best. Barry said he learned from the best. And that's not a surprise. Everybody that I've heard in other interviews, too, have always put over the Malenkos as just being the best school you can go to.
It was. And, I went there. I was going down on weekends at first, maybe every other weekend, and I was living up in Orlando. This was out in Tampa. And I'd go and I'd do like a Saturday and a Sunday only training for about 3 or 4 months. And then the room opened up at camp. And when I lived there, I went 4 days a week for 4 months straight. And then as I started traveling this and that, I returned back to Florida and ended up doing some training there and helping out with some of the younger guys. And I never saw anyone get hurt or get taken advantage of. They were such professionals. And I'm not saying injuries don't happen, I'm just saying, but in training, those guys and the trainers they had there, there was never liberty taken. They wanted to stop and show you the right way of things and things, and you just know at any minute they could stretch you, 6 ways to Sunday, or embarrass you or whatever, or sit your ass down. But it was so professional to have them take their time and say, hey, wait a minute, here's the way you do it. And I remember one time I was in the ring with a guy, and he kind of kneed me in the jaw a little bit, and it was like a high knee lift or something. But when Dean was in the ring, he stopped it. He goes, Bobby, stay right here. And he was kind of showing that guy the steps. And I turned my head, to see what Dean was doing, and he goes, no, just please, Bobby, stay right there. He goes, I'm the least person here that you need to be worried about getting injured by in the ring. And I had trusted him before that, but then I really trusted him because he just put me in position and showed the guy, here's what you're trying to do, but you're hitting him right up in his head. The knee should come across his chest or something. Of course, with Dean doing it, you're like, so I just completely wow, how true. I tell people now, if I'm showing someone from the edge of the ring or I'm up standing on the apron watching them, I show myself, I'm the least person you need to worry about hurting you because I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. If one of these young guys will say, well, what do you think about this? I'll say, well, slow your steps down or speed them up or whatever, just something like that. But I'll never forget that lesson, don't try to take liberties or take advantage of people or embarrass them. That's not a way. You're not a good coach if you do that. At the Malenkos, they were excellent because they never did that to you. I didn't see it happen to any other people, and I respect that too. That someone didn't get embarrassed. Because any time they could have, like I said, stretch your, told you get the hell out or whatever. They were very, very professional.
That's awesome.
So I think, yeah, it was.
From the way you're describing it, it's almost like the Malenkos were teaching a trade. And when we talked to Al Snow, he actually talked about getting his school set up where it's an accredited trade school almost teaching wrestling. Did the Malenkos kind of teach a trade, you think, to their students?
I do. I think so. I think that's a good way to put that. And shout out to Al, man. I like what he's doing down in Ohio Valley. I don't know how that would work, but with the way things are, I can see that happening. That you're actually learning a trade, like any other trade. And I'd like to see it because like how it'd be accredited. That's a great idea, especially if you have a system in place like the Malenkos did. You just didn't start off with suplexes the first day. And I've heard of people doing that, and they start running the ropes and get with 2x4s, and they think they saw that one TV. That's the first thing, the truth. And knowing Al and knowing how talented he is and how disciplined he is in teaching, I would think that'd be great. And I think the Malenkos, that's what they had. They eventually, when I went, it was just, Malenkos Wrestling School or whatever. It became, within a couple of years of being there, they moved to a different location and actually became, the Malenko Wrestling Academy. Again, not accredited at that time by, colleges or something, or a trade school. But, I think that's what they had. They had such a good system in place. You start at point A, go to point B, and learn a system or a trade because they, taught you about doing bookings or taking bookings. And we did everything from, learning to set up the ring to interviews, how to speak. Malenko was even Terry Funk says Malenko is one of the greatest all-time, promo guys. And so, he would sit there and tell you, he wouldn't put words in your mouth. He would say, here's the emotion behind that. Think about what you're doing and where you're going with it. So, I can see that. Just like at the Performance Center, I guess. You can have classes on your promos, have classes on, the basics to advance. I think that's a great idea, and I wish Al the best of luck, because I do tell these young guys, if you're ever getting into professional wrestling business, get trained by someone that's been there and done it. Don't just say, I'd be kind of, at the beginning, I just jumped in like, I'm going to be a wrestler, kind of thing, but it was harder to do. But like I said, I had about 10 or 12 matches. It took me some time to realize that, oh, wait a minute here. This is a business. So that's why I decided to move to Tampa and go to a training academy, if you will, So, it's a great idea. I wish them luck.
If I remember correctly,
young wrestler out there, get trained by someone good that knows what the hell they're doing.
If I remember correctly from your book, you kind of said that Malenko approached training as he would teach you conditioning, then he would teach you wrestling, and then he would teach you to make money. Because you got to learn the steps to be able to make money from it, not just graduate to that point.
Right, yeah, and that's what I was getting at. There's a system in place there. Some people that, went to Malenko, they may not have wanted just the conditioning, or they just wanted to be a superstar overnight or what have you. But when I went to it, what I did, I was in pretty good shape, or so I thought, and I was built pretty good, or so I thought. But I wasn't in wrestling condition. And I was like, oh, okay. So we went out. I remember the first time I did it was with Sean Waltman. We'd done some Malenko, how you do these 10 ones. It was hot. It was August in Tampa, and you do like 10 Hindu squats, 1 push-up, and you build a ladder to where when you're done, you've done like 110 push-ups, 110 Hindu squats. But yeah, I basically signed up for the whole deal because after my first time, like I said, I went down there, I had about 10 or 12 matches. He said, Bobby, we talked for a few minutes. He said, I want you to forget everything you think you know about professional wrestling and let me start you from square one. So when I signed up, I wanted everything from the conditioning to the wrestling to the, keep learning about getting bookings and then get myself booked out to different places, And because I got to travel all over the world, but the conditioning part, yeah. And again, I was kind of seeking that male approval, I guess, a father figure in Malenko, and I gyrated towards that. So when I had no problem if he said, well, I know another buddy of mine, he said, I won't train you until you can do 500 straight Hindu squats, but who was a friend of mine, that was what Malenko prescribed to him, if you will. Me, he started me even before that, because I could, it was all I could do to finish the 10 ones, which is for beginners. To where I got to where I could do 500 Hindu squats and do the 3-minute neck bridges and the 100 Hindu push-ups and all those different things because I was conditioned to do that. It had nothing to do with weightlifting or running, or it was all geared towards wrestling. And then on a mat wrestling, yeah, you can be tough for this and that, but learning how to amateur wrestlers and also learning, oh man, so it could hook you down or lock you on, and kind of what you see nowadays with the MMA, a whole mixture of things to where then you come up and start like, even though you ran the ropes and, you got the mess around with headlocks and hammerlocks and that, switches and all the chain wrestling. Then you started running ropes and adding spots, and I just kind of went from the bottom up. And I saw the people that come in, you had a lot more experience, that started at another level, you know. It was great for me. I started, like I said, he asked me to start from square one, and I did, man.
Before we move on from the Malenkos, one more thing I wanted to ask you. Any advice that you still get from to this day, whether it was in wrestling or in life, that you still use from the Malenkos? Because I know you talk about the Malenkoisms, and I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, curious about some stuff you maybe still keep.
Yeah. Good question. Like, you know, he always said stuff like, you know, the eye is a mirror of your life. You know, just pay attention to what's going on around you. And then if you had an upper body injury, one of the things he would tell you is like overhead pulls. You know, that was the cure all for everything. You just pull down for lightweight. So he had all these different things. I'm trying to think of just. Oh man, if I think of something, I'll come back to it. I apologize.
That's all right. I mean, you guys always worked out a lot and kept in shape too. I mean,
my God, I'm sorry. Yeah, the workout. Thank you. It was on my tongue. Yeah, so he had a thing on his business card that said, "Life is movement, and movement is life." But yeah, so man, I just got fucked up just now. One of his sayings was, and so you can edit that if you have to. But here's what I am at the age right now that when I met Malenko, he was at this age, and this has become more and more true for me. I've noticed this just in the last couple of years, especially this year. He had a saying: "Young men should work out. Old men must." And that's probably the one that stuck with me, because I'm the old man now, and I must work out. But I've got to go either for a walk or go to the gym at least every other day. I'm doing something every day, whereas I had some stuff happening, and I wasn't able to do some of the things I was used to doing. And man, I realized, wow, that movement of just, I'm the old man. So young men should work out. Old men must. And I'm one of the old men. So I either go walk or I run a stationary bike, and I do lap pull down stuff and do some, lunges and the deep knee bends and what I can. I can't go down as far as I used to, but yeah, I still do the Hindu squat. And that was a good Malenkoism right there. So there you go.
Awesome.
Bob Cook talks a lot about putting in the work at this age and not always enjoying it, but needing to. And it almost seems like Malenko instilled that into you guys, and you're almost just living his advice to this day.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. Of course, he works out, and he was just talking about this in his podcast last week there, probably like Sunday or Monday. He was talking about how some days you just don't want to work out, and some days he hated to go out for his run or what he was going to particularly do that day. He said, but when you're done, you feel so much better. And that's the thing with me with this movement. I started back with a pretty good regimen at the beginning of this year. I started getting into a groove again. I started hitting in about April. And I was like, I'm not, today being so cold, it's like you don't want to do it. But you know what? When you get done, you're so glad at the end of the day that you went and put the work in. Again, whether it be a 30 or 45-minute bike ride one day, the next day maybe you're just using a treadmill. Maybe another day, not this month, but last month I was still able to walk outside some and go to the gym and stretch. Stretching, I've learned that the stretching is very important, and there's some days you just don't want to do this, but guess what? You better do it. But when you're done, you do feel so much better. You feel like you have that sense of accomplishment, like you've done something that day, and your body feels that much better. Even though you're like trying to grind it out, you're like, man, you might think it sucks, but when you get through with whatever's on that paper or whatever you're going to go down in that workout and do that day, it's better for you, and I'm so glad that wasn't still to me. But I always played sports and stayed in pretty good shape and this and that, but it wasn't until I got a little bit older, I was like, those lessons, like I said, young men should work out, old men must. Those lessons are now the ones I have to live by. I must work out, and I know that.
I was watching your YouTube series, Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. Awesome stuff.
Yeah,
you're welcome. You were doing legit badasses. Really good stuff in there. And you had mentioned Rogan, and I know Rogan does MMA and commentates on UFC and stuff. And that got me wondering, like, not in a bad way, but like maybe in a good way. Did you ever have a guy that you wrestled who was like super physical, like snug, not would hurt you, but like every time you wrestled him, you're like, it was going to be a tough but a snug match? Is there someone in particular?
From just having that training, and I didn't mind the working of, being snug or strong style, what do you want to call it? Because even in Japan, maybe working snug with it, I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to wrestle Dan Severn, a couple times, and thankfully that was a gentleman's agreement. And that's on that YouTube channel also at
yes.
tinyurl.com/BBBB video. But all legit tough guys, you know, we put them guys on there. I didn't get in the ring with like a Ming or a Barbarian. I saw what those guys could do. But probably for me, like Scott Flash Norton, man, he's just a big, strong guy. When I got to wrestle him there, when, you know, Saturday night taping and stuff, I was like, oh, man, he's so big and strong. He really is. Mike Enos, too, just them big, something about them big powerlifting Minnesota guys. You
Right.
know, they took care of me, man. They would throw me wherever. Thankfully, like with Scott Norton, rather, he just said, you don't be stiff out there. And I'm, yeah, it's all, don't worry about it. You know, it's good. I understood that, you know. We got behind the curtain. I was waiting on him because I was like, he really took care of me. And he was like, man, that's the best match I've had since I've been here in 2 years, you know. And he was one of them guys that works, you know, snug or what have you. But it didn't bother me. I respected that in that guy, you know what I'm saying? No, it didn't bother me, but I don't know. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, it must have been something about that Minnesota water, right? Because those, I think the Road Warriors, Rick Rude.
Yeah. I saw a Road Warrior shoot Barry Horse off one time at the court, back when I was at a WWF at the time taping, and it looked like, I mean, I know Barry was like, he could work. He could take his own butt, but man, it looked like one of them shoved him so damn hard it's going to just keep on going like the old cartoons where the ring ropes come out in 3D. I thought he was going out to the fucking front row just hitting the ropes they shot him off. Yeah, it's that Minnesota water, I guess. I met a person, he was a doctor. I don't know how long he lived in Nashville, but I was at a gym. This has been, 10 or 12 years ago, and he was a big old guy, and I started talking to him, but come to find out he was a doctor, and the thing, he was like, well, I found you as a wrestler. I didn't know he was a doctor, but it's one of those things you just, you know, as you see each other at the gym, come to find out he's from Minnesota. Well, he's so damn big, man, because he was just a big, he had been a powerlifter when he was younger. And I was like, it stayed with him. I was like, holy shit. But he knew who to roll your Warriors and Rude and all those guys were, obviously, you know. But I was like, damn, man.
Another thing I saw on your Bell to Bell was a match you had with Chris Benoit on WCW Saturday Night, where Benoit put it over. It was one of the best matches ever had. And it was just basically a situation where I think Mongo wasn't familiar with your work, and he didn't really want to work with you. And Benoit was going over the match, and you guys worked really snug, but it had a great match, and it got really over very well. Do you have a favorite opponent in particular? That's something I was kind of wondering.
I worked with Chris several times, and I liked every match I had with him. That was the first time I actually worked with him. Yeah, someone just asked me about that match yesterday at the gym, actually. But yeah, the way that happened was, the best thing about that match was a year later, I was walking into a building and Norman Smiley was there. He goes, hey, Bob, we'd been eating together. We walked outside. He goes, Bob, isn't this the building you and Benoit had a great match out last year? And I was like, you remember that? He goes, I always remember the best match on every card. That made me feel really good because I knew it was a good match. I guess so the board before it went up, Mongo, they had me against Mongo. This was back when he was in the Horseman thing. And, man, first of all, the guy played 15 years in the fucking NFL on a Super Bowl championship team. It's not going to be taken lightly. You know, he could rip your fucking head.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Apparently, in the meeting, the war room or whatever, I guess he thought, you know, well, this Bobby Blaze kid, you know, he can't keep up with me, or, you know, too small, whatever it is. I don't know what he thought or whatever. He said something, and Chris looked at him, and that just went off through Benoit. I had been in Australia with him. I knew him from Canada, this guy. We worked together. So I knew his name from Dean, you know, from being in Tampa. Yeah, so Chris and I knew each other. And I guess it just went off through Chris because he knew I could work. And he just come right to me and said, Bobby, here. I didn't know at the time any of the other stuff with Mongo had happened. And so Chris said, come here. And it got intense. We were in the dressing room just kind of going over a couple things quick. And I remember Dean and Eddie looking over, and Dean walking over going, are you guys over here shooting? What, are you all right? And we both, I was just listening to Chris, like, and Chris like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, everything's good. And so we hit the ring. We just went at it, man. You know, we worked really snug. Pretty much the only thing I knew was the finish, you know, it's going to be the crippler crossface or what have you. The only thing I said in the ring, basically, he said, when I bid you over, I'm going to be throwing knees at your face, so cover up. And the only thing I remember in that match as far as something calm, he grabbed me by the back of the head, he said knees, and I knew to just cover my face up because the fury of knees were coming. And they did, but I was protected, you know?
Yeah.
And other than that, we worked and went to the finish. Everything else was like, go, go, go. Yeah, so over in Japan, Great Sasuke, I got to work with him, and he was just a pleasure to be in a ring with. He owned the company. He's main eventing, and he worked, you know, for New Japan and FMW. And, you know, on the company, here he is. I get to work with him. I remember working a main event with him in his hometown one time for the, you know, that title he had. And, man, it was just a pleasure to be with him. I had several matches with him with Robbie Brookside. I enjoyed working with Robbie Brookside. I was there for about a month one year. It was just, you know, some of those guys that are worldly known, you're just, you know, you can have good matches. My favorite, probably my all-time favorite opponent is probably the late Chris Candido. We were both young, athletic, had a lot of different ideas that was all geared towards, you know, professional wrestling, though. You know, it's like we had different ideas, but it all evolved around wrestling. Like, I like this part, he liked this part, and that became probably my all-time favorite opponent, you know, to answer your question.
Yeah.
And I hope that leads somewhere else. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing we were kind of wondering about, you know, favorite opponents, the camaraderie. What about, like, maybe any favorite road stories that obviously did you feel comfortable telling? Because we know how road stories can be sometimes too.
I don't know. You know, like things happen sometimes out on the road. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could tell, you know, there's the Suda shooter that, you know, hit the other podcast.
Oh yes, we were going to go there anyway. We can go there now.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's kind of like, there was this. So yeah, I don't know. I was over in Australia way back in the day, and whatever, you know. But those things happen. Whatever. And I get, and Sue, for the last 2 or 3 years, a friend of mine, Rod Hicks, he went to WrestleMania or one of these WrestleMania. Sue comes over. She's still a huge fan of professional wrestling. And like Mania, I think the last 2 or 3 Manias, he sent me a picture of him and Sue together. And she goes, "Oh, tell Bobby hello. You know, Bobby, it's lovely to hear from you. Just via text, you might be standing right there." So shout out to her. But the character Sue the shooter too. So I'm not trying to disrespect the human being, but you know, she's admittedly an open ring rat. You know,
Yep.
Back in the day, that was her deal. And so I guess I know she done this interview and had this in a mainstream magazine of all the guys she had been with. So I was supposedly the last American or last guy she had been with, like back in the day. And I'm like, I wasn't with you. It's a fucking blowjob. Don't count as a blowjob, whatever. But yeah. Anyway, on 605, I guess they come across that someone sent it in, and then Cornette comes on, and it's Brian and Jim on there going, they're reading the story, and then Brian's like, you know, and then, that was your champion. And so that kind of let the cat out of the bag. But I knew that article came out like about 98 or so, because one of my buddies from Australia had called me and was reading it to me, and I was like, you know, just a few years removed from that incident or whatever. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, fuck, man. It eventually recirculated again. So I knew it was floating around out there somewhere. Good on her, and I'm glad, you know, it was a documentary. I guess they've taken it down now, but yeah, she had a whole show about all the people. I'm like, okay, any publicity is good publicity, I guess, right?
I was actually familiar with Sue the Shooter from the 605 podcast, so that's funny to hear you put it all together. I had actually read your book, Pin Me, Pay Me, and I kept Dave in the dark about something. Can you enlighten Dave about the 3 Ps of professional wrestling?
Oh, man, yeah, I guess I have to go ahead and say... Pills, pot, and pussy. Okay?
All right. I told him pussy would be one of them.
Well, you figure there's 3 Ps of professional wrestling, and I hope people do take that with a grain of salt. But, you know, with all the tragedies and stuff that happen in professional wrestling. But, you know, seriously, it's like there's a time it's like it's pills, pot, and pussy, and if you got time, pick up a pizza, bitch. You know, kind of thing. So you can say the 4 Ps to throw pizza in there. But, yeah, I mean, usually at one point, sadly, or whatever, wherever you travel, that's just what it is. Some won't have this, and usually you have 1 to 3 or 2 to 3 or whatever. That's a pretty good combo, especially if you get some pussy and some pizza. I'll leave it at that. How's that? I'll leave it to the 2 Ps now for your G audience.
Now, I had actually brought it up because I was heavily recommending your book to Dave, Pin Me, Pay Me, and then there's the other one that I haven't read yet, but I will be getting on Amazon. What was it like to write a book and actually put your stories out there?
Oh, first of all, thanks for reading the book, and yeah, I appreciate it. What happened was, it's just like we're talking right now. You probably feel like I'm there with you, you're here with me or whatever. Just, you know.
Definitely.
Maybe having a beer after the matches, or maybe be at your house just watching football one Sunday and just talking or whatever, or be at the bar with your buddy. And so what happened was, it seemed like and I hadn't been out for a while. Like, I don't go out a lot, but I'm just saying, like, just go out to like someone's house to watch football. Or even like I went to Kentucky Derby one year just to watch the horse race at it, like a Derby party. Everywhere I'd go out to, or like even a local high school football game, what have you, someone would say, man, did you ever wrestle this guy? And they'd bring up something. Or do you know so-and-so? And so what happened, I just kept thinking, everywhere I go, people want to know a story. So I started coming home. When I came home, I started writing down, I had 6 of them. So this is kind of where I started at. Someone asked me about Dan Severn. And they had actually seen the match. And I was surprised because this was, again, several years ago. And I was like, so I came home and wrote about that match after that evening. And then someone asked me about Piper. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've wrestled Piper, And so I just was like, started putting things together. And I had all these little notes. And I just started like, okay. And one of my buddies one day, were coming home. I don't know, we'd been to a ball game or something. And I'd always wanted to write a book, but I really hadn't thought much about it. And he was dropping me off. And he said, man, you really need to write a book. Because we'd been to one of them ball games and stuff where a bunch of people, come around me and said, hey, have you, I started telling wrestling stories. And that's how it became. And then the second one, I just went back and was like, okay, here's some things that, some other stories. And maybe creative liberties were taken, I don't know. So my second book's called I Kicked Out on Tube, The Educational Wrestler. And it's available on Amazon. I appreciate anyone out there who gets a copy. Leave a review. I appreciate reviews. Good, bad, or indifferent. All reviews help independent authors. Let me just throw this out to you. You can get Pin Me, Pay Me at just go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1 or get I Kicked Out on 2 at tinyurl.com/blazebook2 or just go to Amazon and get them. I appreciate them. You can download them. They're ebooks also. But yeah, that's how I wrote it. And I've got some stories I hope to share. And a lot of this is going to be about podcasts of what's going on the last couple of years since I've written my last book. So I am working on a third. And there's going to be some stuff about podcasts and the ones I appeared on. So I have to put you guys over to Working Fans Podcast.
Goddamn right, Bobby. Thank you.
And what I'm thinking about, follow me at Twitter at BobbyBlaze744. That's the only social media I use. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on. If you go to the YouTube channel and comment, that's great. If you go to the Facebook group and comment, that's great. I do get some of those texts. Who does our graphics and does YouTube channel. I appreciate that. Jeremy, my co-host on a Bell to Bell podcast. I appreciate when they'll send me those things, but I'm only on Twitter, and I love interacting on Twitter. But that's just my choice for now, And yeah, but that's how I started the book. So this next one is kind of going to be mentioned podcast and maybe a shooter story, those kind of things. Some little things people's always ask me about. Kind of tie it all together with people that may not be listening to this podcast or not listening to my podcast or live in a cave somewhere. I don't know.
One thing we wanted to ask you about, I was told to ask you about this in particular. Is it a work?
Of course it'll work. I'm like a fucking mark. It's all a work. I was kind of waiting for that question. Yes, it's all a work.
Yeah. We were talking about, we have another guy we do this show with, AJ, and he's been talking about doing a segment called Is It a Work, where we take on just events in life and we talk about, is this real? Is this a work? Whether it's elections, I heard that you're very much into the same thing. Like, take a lot of this shit sounds like a work.
Yeah. I got a shirt from Collar and Elbow a few years ago, which is Al Snow's T-shirt company, and Ron sent it to me, like I said, Ron Hicks, who sends me the picture of Sue every year. I'll be looking for it this year. He sent me a shirt that said Life's a Work, and I'm like, man, that shirt ever, man. I've worn it out. But yeah, everything's a work. To some degree, everything's a damn work.
I say that too. The more not to get into politics or anything, but just looking at President Trump, the election and stuff like that, and his time in WWE, and you can see some of this is a fucking character.
Exactly.
Right. I'm
that's another thing.
Right.
Some get it, some don't. When you're saying again, not to get real political, but yeah, you can see some of this. He came from reality TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is what it is. So,
and that's not knocking the guy or putting him over.
Take more serious. You can see there's some character there.
Yes. And like I said, that's
I'm not putting them over, and I'm not burying them because I'm not going to get that discussion.
Same. Right.
Smart.
But yeah, exactly, right. It's just, you can see where it's like, oh, and you go to region and you tell a region what they want to hear. It's like, oh, this is probably
Exactly.
like, yeah.
It's like the guys in the Booking the Territory podcast always say. They always promote that things are at work. They'll bring it up.
Yeah.
It seems like a money segment.
Man, that podcast, Mike and Doc and Harper, that, I always put Mike Mills over because I love that Booking the Territory. I got to co-host it some, and I've been a guest on it, and actually done a couple shoot interview with them. And there's some good ones out there. You mentioned the 605 earlier, and this one here, like you said, you had a couple of my buddies over there, Bob and Barry, and now myself, the Malenko guys. I appreciate that, man. And I'm a podcast guy. I always listened, and I eventually, I debated on doing one. I had a couple people approach me. Jeremy was one I finally, he stepped up before someone else did, and I was like, yeah, let's do it then. And it's turned out pretty good so far, but we're reestablishing goals for next year. We're going to try to do another 12 to 18 months to see what happens, and I'm always looking to do podcasts because I listen to so many different ones, and I love them, especially done tastefully or not so tastefully or professionally, or most unprofessional. It doesn't matter. I just like getting it out there that people can enjoy this,
Yeah.
especially about wrestling that they may not know about. Times do change, and the network's up now, and you got YouTube, and you go watch it. And I just said this in my podcast that we recorded. It came out this morning, actually. I recorded it Sunday. Right now is really a good time to be a professional wrestling fan because there's so much you can choose from everything WWE has to the, AEW now, that you still got your Impact and whatnot. But this NWA thing, if you like studio wrestling, I have been loving that on these last few Tuesdays when they, whatever the segments were, 8 of those. And I'm looking, I know the tapings were taking place this past, I love that stuff. I'm a fan. And I know New Japan's restarting some stuff, but I find stuff on YouTube. Sometimes I'll just pick out someone and say, okay, today is going to be Nick Bockwinkel day, especially in the winter. And, it's cold, you don't want to go out, it gets dark early. I'm going to watch all Nick Bockwinkel that day, or all Jerry Lawler matches, or, tag matches. It's such a good time, though, to be, with everything that is happening in the world of professional wrestling. I think there's a lot of variety out there. Don't think you have to be an AEW guy or a WWE guy or girl. You know what?
100%.
Watch. And just watch some fucking wrestling and enjoy it for what it is. You don't have to, just because you like one doesn't mean you have to hate the other.
100%.
You know what? Don't watch that. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Watch what you like, because there's a lot more to choose from now.
Exactly.
Again, with the way it should be.
Bobby, one other thing I want to just say, kind of more of a comment and maybe just get some feedback. We've been doing this podcast, and we've had maybe 14, 15 interviews. I don't know. So maybe not even that close.
I would put about like 10 or so.
Okay. And we've had a lot of young guys that are doing well, and everybody gets us good interviews. But we have to say, and Joe, you can help me out with this, Barry, you, Bob Cook, and Pat Rose, we talked to a little bit last week too. There's something about you older territory guys. Like, you are just the best at telling stories. Whatever reason it is, it just seems like you guys just really are very good at the art of storytelling.
Well, thank you. I take that as a huge compliment, and I take that because I was a student of the game, and I'm a student of life. I observe a lot. I've always enjoyed watching people. Probably been never one to back down from asking a question like I just say, whatever people like their probably know, just ask, and you learn. And then also because I was around a lot of great people to watch and learn from, to travel with, to be in a car with, to spend, weeks upon weeks on a Japanese tour bus with, And fortunately for me, I've been to Australia and South Africa and England and all over Canada and all over the United States. I mean, it's just, in Japan, of course, but I'm just saying it's just, I've been really blessed that way. And as someone, I use this on Send Me Pay Me on a book promo on my Twitter. I'll send this out sometimes. Someone will review, and they put Bobby Blaze, a natural storyteller. And it was another author from Houston that sent me the review, and I was like, man, that's really cool. So I kind of use that sometimes. I take it as a great compliment, but it's because I got to be around so many great people and learn from them, watch, observe, and listen. And it is what it is. I'm just a good storyteller, I guess, if that's what you say, or another author tells me, so I'll take it, and thank you very much.
No problem. One last thing I want to do before we'll get to promote again and wrap stuff up. One last question. We had down here that, something we never actually asked, even though it's kind of a simple question, is winning a belt And even though obviously everything, as you know, you talk about being work, but is there a certain pride in winning a championship? You know, whether it's your first championship or that a company would pick that belt for you?
If you take pride in what you do, absolutely, because, you know, whether like, say we'll go to the Smoky Mountain region when I work for that territory, you know, and I think Jim Cornette has one of the greatest minds of professional wrestling, you know. I think him and Kevin Sullivan's another one's got a great mind. But where I work for Jim, that's the thing, whether it be the junior heavyweight title or let's just go up the Smoky Mountain heavyweight title, yeah. I've had titles here in Florida or little regional things, this and that, but it wasn't on a national or bigger scene, if you will. So the way I looked at it was this company, they took enough. They put trust in you. You know, you're trying to make money together. You're working on an angle that's going to last X amount of weeks or months or maybe a year or what have you, and you're going to be the champion. So, yeah, I think I did, and I think many people have. I take pride in the fact that they have enough confidence, you know, the booking, the booker or the booking crew or the office, you know, they're giving you that nudge like, you know, hey, here's the deal, man. This is where we're going to go with this. And you have the responsibility to carry that title, you know what I'm saying? Some people, you know, don't need the title to get over, and then when you have that title, if you don't know how to carry yourself, it just buries you. But when you take pride in it and you carry yourself as a champion for that region or that territory, again, whether it be the TV title or a tag title, yeah, I think with any of them associated that, take pride in it, but also realize that the company has taken, you know, an interest in you, not just, you know, from your tryout match to being booked regular to you know, being a TV star or whatever. They're like putting their stock in you to carry that title in their territory. And obviously it's to make money and, you know, to carry out one of the main character lines and also main TV lines and main house show. You know, you're the one they're drawing money off of. So you damn sure better take pride that, you know, hey, this is what I've got to do for the next 6, 8 weeks, months, whatever it may be. And, I think it's very important. I think, you know, sometimes titles do get watered down or what have you, but I think any time that one of the major people in influences in professional wrestling that's been a champion, those people have taken pride. They understand what it means to be on top. They've worked hard to get there, and they deserve that spot, whether the fans like them or hate them, because that's another good thing. You have your villains or your heels or your baby face and good guys. That's, you know, they're out there drawing money from your angles, you know. So, yeah, I think so.
Bobby, before I let you go, you're really a master at promoting too, but is there anything else you want to promote or get the word out again about stuff you're working on or doing?
Hit me up at Twitter. I'm at Bobby Blaze 744. I love hearing from everyone. If you're a first-time listener or haven't read my book, I encourage you to go out and get one. 2 people yesterday left me some really nice little things on my Twitter account that really meant a lot. But yeah, I'll get back to you on those, especially concerning my book. I do help some younger guys out from time to time. I want to see guys, you know, just watching them and giving them advice. Maybe I'll watch their matches or what have you. But yeah, you know, I've got the YouTube channel with Tex and Jeremy, and that's at tinyurl.com/BBBB video. But basically, you just go to YouTube and type in a Bobby Blaze podcast, and you'll find some video on there. Really some good stuff, I think, because they do such a good job of me telling the stories with Jeremy asking the questions and blending in and Tex doing the graphics. Yeah, so hit us up there, or again, just get one of my books, and if you have one, I appreciate you getting it, and I appreciate reviews. And man, I don't know when this is going to drop, but sometime in the next few weeks it's going to be a whole new year. So hey, you know what? Just like I said on my podcast, if you're listening to this podcast right now, the Working Fans Podcast, then Happy New Year to you. And we know you can listen to other podcasts, but thanks for taking the time to listen to this one, man. I mean, hey, I love podcasts myself, and I'll be listening. So,
oh, goddamn, Bobby, you're the man.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. Hey, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it.
And Bobby, I'm going to
fucking greetings and Happy New Year. Appreciate y'all just having me on.
No, man, we appreciate you being on. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thanks for coming on again. This is the interview I was least worried about, because it was like we were a friend was calling us, and we were just catching up with him, and I want to thank you for that very much.
Very cool. I'm glad I made you feel that way. So that's the way it should be, man. That's all good. All good. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Have a nice Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. If you're listening to this podcast right now, the Working Fans Podcast, then Happy New Year to you. And we know you can listen to other podcasts, but thanks for taking the time to listen to this one, man. I mean, hey, I love podcasts myself, and I'll be listening. So.
All right, so that wraps us up for this week. Thank you again for listening to the Working Fans Podcast. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. Our Facebook page is Working Fans Wrestling Pod. We have email where you can reach out to us and let us know what you think also. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. And then as always, please continue to listen to us on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, all your major platforms. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, which we are also on now, and YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bring you these podcasts where we get to talk to you and talk with you every week.